And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the Practically Tactical Show. I am your co host, Jesse.
Excellent job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody out there should slow clap. Golf clap for Jesse.
I feel it.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I know it's been a minute. Last month, actually, it's been that long. It's been a while. But we are back for an AAR. For a couple weeks ago, we attended the MDFI Basic Carbine and Foundation Carbine in one weekend, 2 one-day classes. So we're going to be discussing those classes, giving you guys an AAR on that. Then, of course, I'm sure we're going to cover some related topics. But for everybody out there, what was that?
I said my new gun.
Yeah.
Totally off topic.
Yeah, but it's important to talk about. Yeah, too bad you can't get that in time for the You Suck It's Not the Gun for MDFI this weekend.
I know. I hate it.
But for everybody out there, in case for some reason you're catching this and you haven't missed, if you haven't caught other videos on the channel, it was announced earlier this week on Monday that Jesse was actually joining the show full-time in a co-host spot, as well as I think our really good friend, our guest favorite, Mr. Jeff Bluven from Arm Dynamics. He's joining the show full-time. So our first show we're actually recording in 5 days. So October 7th at our usual Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, we'll be back, Practically Tactical, episode 92 with Jesse and Jeff full-time. So you guys can join us there. What was that?
I was finally getting the show up so I can, check out the chat and stuff.
Yeah, we're a little rusty. I can feel it. We're a little rusty. But so we're going to be jumping into the ARs here. We got to talk about Jesse's new gun he's getting here. And then obviously some related subjects around just training in general. I have a few things I want to bring up because I only have one note from the first day from the first class that takes up 2 lines.
You used that one note, like 50 times since then already. So
I know it's a great line.
It is.
But for everybody out there, I appreciate you guys tuning in out there. I definitely see a bunch of regulars in. We got Tyler, we got Crazy, we got Greg, we got Jeff. We got Russian. I feel like I missed somebody else there, but I'm not seeing it. But thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, if you guys got any questions, please go ahead and ask those. Be happy to answer those. So, yeah, you ready to jump into this, Jesse?
You know it.
All right. So let's jump to the actual. Let's talk about the first day here. So we went out to MDFI track. You guys all know we've trained with them. TrainMDFI.com. Oh, I also need to mention that actually in the description down below, there are links to not only MDFI. Actually, did they disappear? No, they didn't. They're there. Didn't load up there. There are links to not only Train MDFI. You can go check that out. They're wrapping up their training season this year. There's actually classes coming up in Texas and North Carolina, as well as I think one other Michigan class that's literally like tomorrow from the day that we're recording this.
Yep.
So you can go to their website, check that out. There are a couple classes scheduled for next year, which I actually didn't tell Jesse about this. April 14th, 15th, and 16th, there's a 3-day package of You Suck It's Not the Gun, Foundation Handgun, and then When Things Go Bad. They have a 3-day package that you guys can sign up for and save some money. So, Jesse, I want to talk to you about that before the show, but we didn't get a chance to do it.
I'm sure we'll be there.
Yeah. I mean, 3 days of training. Yeah, we got to be there. So you guys can check that out. But again, there's actually links below to picture albums from the basic carbine and then the foundation carbine down below in the chat. So you guys can check those out. A bunch of pictures of the classes. So let's jump to basic carbine the first day. The class is $175. The course description is this class takes carbine shooting back to the basics. In an attempt to focus on the defensive use of a carbine, many classes do not focus a great deal on the time on the ability to place a bullet precisely where the shooter wants it to go. This class takes a look at the special considerations needed to properly use the carbine, keep it running, and will prepare the student for a foundation level defensive training. Topics covered in this class were rifle setup, including slings, sights, optics, lights, and others, maintenance, trajectory, ballistic performance, how to zero a rifle, fundamentals of marksmanship, shooting techniques, and shooting positions. Requirements, at minimum, your rifle needed to have just iron sights. At minimum, optics are not necessarily required for this class. Semi-automatic rifle, AR-15 or AK. or pretty much any other type. 200 rounds of ammunition, 3 magazines, eye and ear protection, of course, and then, of course, snacks, water, and all that good stuff. So this class is really about, I mean, it's right there in the description, the basics of carbine. This class is definitely a slower paced class, not in a bad way. It's not like, it's so slow. It's not a bad way. It is, again, it's basics of the carbine, as in basically you have all day in this class to learn the rifle inside and out and then zero your rifle. That's really what this class comes down to, is learning the gun, learning how it works, learning how to maintenance, how to inspect it, how then to actually zero your rifle, how to make adjustments, and how to shoot better. I think that's probably about the best summary that at least I can come up. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, they talk about this class like it's the you suck, it's not the gun of carbine.
Yeah.
So it's just shooting tiny little ragged groups all day, and yeah, it's like Nick said, getting right back to the basics. You take out irons first and get your irons zeroed in. They show you, first you go through setup and everything. Again, we went over why you kind of set the gun up, how you did. And I mean, it's the, I don't know, matchbox cars of just rifles out there. There were so many different kinds and varieties, and everybody just had, a little bit of something different. So it was cool to see why people thought they needed that type of stuff,
Oh, that's right. In this class, there was a SBR Crink at the class.
Yeah.
Which I think he learned a lot about that rifle during that class. That sights on those aren't exactly the greatest.
No.
The iron sights are more of we hope that's good. But he ran it like a boss. Ran it.
Oh, man, that thing was pouring brass on me all day. Like, God, I swear the brass was on fire coming out of that thing, too. But no, yeah, just, we went over setup and, if right from there, we kind of went over, like Nick said, breaking down how to inspect the gun, how to look it over, what you're looking for on parts, how parts work. I mean, this was, again, if you had just bought a rifle, this would have been the class to for sure come to, because it just shows you everything. And it fights a lot of, like, what we call is like the derp of just all the myths out there and all the hoopla, I guess, of just, I don't know, lube and everything else in general. So, it was nice to just break it down and see a clean, consistent way and an easy way to do things. Then from there, we went into zero, and I think that's like, the biggest part of this class is the zeroing of your gun, because a lot of people, they get out there and they get that combat zero and they're like, yeah, good enough, but it is really nice to break the science behind zeros. I mean, we went to, the learning aspect of actually which zeros, why we were doing which zeros they thought were the best and why, and you kind of got to decide on yourself there. And then they showed you ways to actually do the zero where, again, like I'm guilty of it too, the range that we go to that we have some distance at, we've got a good private range, but it's not very far. So, you can't take it 100, 200 meters back and test that zero out. So all the time we would, 50 meters zero and basically just call it good. We couldn't really confirm back. So it was nice to be able to show shorter distance, like we did the 10-yard zero of Frank Proctor's. And I think that was really cool to see it in general. Like I, heard about it and everything, but I didn't really understand the aspect of it. So it was nice to see that and break that down. And that makes it so if you've got 10 yards at your disposal, you can get your zero. So,
yeah, well, I'm going to interrupt you right there, Jesse. And because Frank Proctor, I think, has a video up on that. So we can at least tell people to find that. So, yeah, Frank, let me grab a piece marker real quick here, and I can explain it. So, obviously, this is not to spec, but so for everybody out there, and again, Frank Proctor has videos on, I think you can go to his website or the video gives you a link to print it. But basically, you just print out, it's a piece of paper like this, the exact dimensions. Frank explains, I know me and you have watched the video before, too. I know I for sure have. But basically, if you don't have a long range you can shoot at, but you want to zero your rifle at 50 yards, but maybe you only have 10 yards, he gives you a target to where if you aim and shoot here, all your rounds should come in and hit, or was it Yes, it was right.
Yep.
So if
Aim
we
at
aim
the
here,
top, they go at the bottom. Yep.
yeah. So you'll have to do, you can do your adjustments here, but basically, if you aim here and everything hits right there, then basically you have your rifle zeroed at 50 yards.
Yeah, and
Now,
it gets you crude at that, you know.
yeah,
Obviously, it gets finer as you go back farther, but that's how you can get close up front, you know. That's the thing. You don't want to go to the range and burn through a bunch of ammo trying to get your zero. And we've seen problems with a bunch of sites out there, especially the backup sites, you know. Coming from like the military, you know, having like that fixed iron A2 front, you know, or maybe the carry handle back. It was just yeah, those sites were a lot more accurate. Obviously, you could tune them into like how you could the red dot now. But I found even with my Magpul Pros, I bottomed out on elevation coming from a Combat Zero, you know, so I couldn't get it as precise as I would have wanted it. You know, of course, would it have, you know, hit people like, yeah, you know, but
yeah,
in this class, again, you're shooting tiny little ragged groups and you want to do stack around. So I actually got them as close as I could. And then that's when I switched over to my red dot. And yeah, I think, you know, for me, it was good because this was really the first time since learning the running it all the way to the rear. I really got to put that into aspect a lot. I wanted to test that out. So it was really
yeah.
good to,
We already got questions on that. So
yeah, it was that worked out really well. I mean, we went into, yeah, you know, shooting position. I guess, you know, we'll probably touch on that here in a minute, but yeah, I think
yeah,
the zero was definitely one of the biggest things because not only did you have all the time in the world to do it, you know, you weren't under that pressure. And that's the biggest thing is like when you get to these foundation carbines or these advanced carbine classes, you want to show up with your gun zeroed, you know, you don't want to have to spend the first half of the class trying to find zero. And that's the thing that these instructors want to get away from. So that's why it's nice to have a class like this the day beforehand where, again, you know, the pressure's kind of off of you. Yeah, I don't know, just kind of a easier learning environment. Like I said, you're still stressed because you're trying to stack them rounds, but we really put distance into play too. We did a lot of, you know, 100-yard shooting. I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think that was about the farthest back. Like 120 was about the farthest back we could go. But we've, you know, worked different positions from it, and yeah, I mean,
Well, and I want to address this in the chat here because I think Mateo, what's up, Mateo? Was it Mateo or was it somebody else? Sorry, there's a great conversation going on in chat right there. They're asking if we're using 6-inch or 8-inch zeros. And actually, I don't know what it is, but here's the thing: is we're not, especially in this class, and same with you, suck. It's not the gun. The size of the circle is irrelevant. It can be a 1-inch circle or an 8-inch circle, and they're the same size in that class. And here's what I mean by that is we are looking to be consistent, precise shooters. So that means we want bullets stacked on bullets, stacked on bullets, stacked on bullets. So we're not aiming for an 8-inch circle. We're aiming to put all of our rounds through the same hole. And that's, you know, like Jesse said earlier, it's kind of like this is like the you suck. It's not the gun of carbine, to where it's back to those fundamentals. It's back to those basics. Is there a difference between precision shooting and like self-defense shooting? Absolutely. So the focus on this class wasn't that hit's good enough, or you got all three of those, you know, all three of those would have been a lethal hit. That's not this type of class. This type of class is, okay, we're going to work on the breathing. We're going to work on those fundamentals. We're going to work on that trigger pull, and we're going to try to get you guys to stack 5 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever it was, on top of each other, or as best as you could.
The circle was a 6-inch circle, so we were going for a 6-inch, but we were trying to get it down to a 1-inch, you know, a 1 MOA. Yeah, we wanted to be in the most accurate of our guns could be. Obviously, you know, you're not getting the accuracy out of your 223, 5.56, like, you know, you can't stack it like you can the 9mm rounds for sure. Yeah. You were getting a small triangle, but when we're talking a small triangle, we're talking 3 rounds that, you know, touched in that, you know, in a thumbprint. So that's what we were working for during this class. It was being, is if you wanted to shoot the pupil out of the guy's eyeball, you had to shoot the pupil out of the guy's eyeball type deal. So I understand, the Combat Zero, and that's where, like, that's all I could get with my irons was, top of a 6-inch circle, you know, and they were spaced out. But with the little 2 MOA dot, you wanted to make it as small as possible.
Yeah. Well, and it ended up being initially started with irons, but my Magpul M-Bus actually broke on on the ADM gun I was reading. That's not nothing to do with ADM. It's Magpul sights, and they broke. And so I ended up running just Aimpoint T1 Micro the whole class, which was kind of not. I mean, it makes it a little easier. I mean, just the front side of irons they just take up a lot of target, you know. But it was I would have liked to run irons, I think, especially the first day, maybe not so much the second day, but it would have been great to have a rifle with the iron zeroed and then the red dot zeroed. And that's the thing, you know, walking out of the class, you know, you take this class and yeah, you're going to go over, you know, I think this class right here is great for if somebody's had a rifle for a while, but they haven't, I mean, they go to the range, they shoot it, but they don't really know any of the basics of how it works. They don't know necessarily how to lubricate it or clean it or how to really properly use it. And I'm not talking run it. Running it and using it are two different terms in the context I'm using, but I've actually had to use their rifle. This class is fantastic for that. So, you know, for us guys that are into this on the internet and, you know, want to do all this stuff of, you know, shooting and mag dumps and reloads and tack reloads, this class, you should take it, but it's not going to be that type of class. So I just really want to confirm that. But yeah, the great thing is if, you know, beginning of the year, if your goal is to take, hey, I'm going to take 5, 6, 7 rifle classes, whatever, we'll take this class first. So that way you're literally going to have your rifle zeroed and ready to go the rest of the year. That's a great thing. And it's been brought up in chat too. They're talking about different zeros for the class, and they teach it. And I agree with it. For a defensive use carbine, 50-yard zero. Why the 50-yard zero? Well, basically, whether it be pretty much from 0 to 200, all your shots would be within a 4-inch group. So whether it be 2 inches high or 2 inches low, they'll all be in there. So again, that's more for defensive rifle use, not necessarily any sort of like long range or precision rifle or, you know, whatever. There's a million different zeros out there, but that's what they teach. They show the math behind it and why they use that. And I think we both used 50-yard zeros before. Oh, yeah. So, but I don't think we necessarily do the math behind it, which was kind of nice to learn in this class. Right. So they go over it.
No, I mean, yeah, obviously you're talking civilian use of a rifle. What are your distances going to be there? You know? So, yeah, no, it made perfect sense. That's what we used, obviously, going into the class. But even so, like, I found out, obviously, moving my red dot from middle to rear didn't change the zero too much. You know, it would have still shot people for sure. Yeah, like, I think it was a great class. Like I said, it just broke down everything. I think, obviously, going into day 2, the guys that took day 1, you could tell a difference right off the bat, you know. I think one of the things that we did is at 100, we did kind of like relay drills down the line of people, you know, shooting. So you went to your neighbor shoots, you shoot so many rounds, you know, and we're shooting 8x11 piece of steel, something like that. So I think that right there, even that drill showed a lot of people like, man, you really had to slow down to get your hits. You had to be stable, you know, especially standing. People would rush that second shot or third shot, and they'd just be right over the target, you know. And I think other people got to see some of the benefits of some of different parts on the gun, you know. And I think a lot of people got to shake out a lot of their gear that day as well, where they just found out, especially sling-wise, man, I see so many problems with slings during these 2 days, like. And yeah, this is an issue of myself included. Like, I just kind of came up with a good option, you know, and I had been playing with it a lot before taking the classes. So going into the class.
Let's pause this real quick. Do you have your rifle near you?
No, it's upstairs.
I kind of want to show off your sling because it's kind of a cool way to do it.
We'll do a video on it. We'll do a video
on it. But yeah, basically he kind of converted his. You have an MS3, right? MS2.
Yeah, I had an MS3 sling, and yeah, I converted it to sort of 2-point Proctor sling a little bit. So
yeah, sling is a big issue, and we'll be doing a video with that coming up this month. Again, we got a lot of big things coming up here that we'll share with you guys here when we announce it. But yeah, sling is a big issue, and I ran the Frank Proctor sling. I loved it. It's a 2-point sling. It's simple. It's basic, and it worked.
Yeah, no,
it was that simple.
I used that sling that day as well, and that worked really well on the ADM gun. And then the way I'd set mine up basically to try to mimic the Proctor sling already, just because Yeah, it is. It's simple, it's easy, it's comfortable, especially in that environment. I mean, we'll do a video on it. There's a ton
Yeah.
of good points. I seen a lot of people wanting to lean more toward a 1 point sling during those days, and it was like, oh, I used to be there, and now it's like, yeah, I'm just a 2 point all the way type guy. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. So I could see how, again, a lot of these guys were shaking out a lot of chest rigs and things that they had never ran before either. So I think a lot of that would have been getting dropped as well. A lot of carriers were out there during not so much the first day, but the second day. But I mean, we're almost there, right? Wouldn't you say to about the second day? I mean,
Yeah.
we could go over shooting. Like I said, we did the different shooting positions relayed from the different yardage, and that was kind of fun. There wasn't no competition day one, I don't think. No.
No competition. It was just, find, you had all day to find your zero. I think that's the best way to sell in class. But I do want to talk about one thing, because I've used the line a ton, and it's came up in the videos we did with Trek. And again, you guys check out the channel. There's actually, I don't know how well they're working, but this will be the first live show where you have like cards coming in the top. So there might be things like flipping up saying, check out this or something. If you guys see it, please let me know and put in a time number on the video. I don't know how these work. It's the first one I've done it. First time, but we did videos with Trek. In the cards, there should be an MDFI card thing you can click that shows the playlist of all the videos. But there's a line that he says in those videos, and there's a line that we talked about in the first day of class. And I hadn't heard him say it before. Had you?
No.
Because I feel like that's a line we would have
for sure
stolen if we could, or B, used a lot of on the show before. But this was a line from the basic, and it's a great way to sum up this class of just learning how to use your rifle. Would be, don't be a liability, be a responsibility. And I love that line, because it not only doesn't apply just to rifles, it doesn't apply just to handguns, it doesn't apply just to concealed carry. It's really more of not necessarily a mindset, but it is a mindset, but just a way of preparing yourself in life. It doesn't matter if it's, guns or, working or, what, parenting. It's just a great line that you can use for literally anywhere of, don't be a liability, be a responsibility.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that, I mean, and for those, if you go to classes, write down notes. See if I can get my basic. My only notes is that right there. Everything else is foundation here. But that was my only notes from the class, and that line just stuck with me a lot. Of don't be a liability, be a responsibility. And I think that really sums up of why we're getting all this training.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that whole class in general, like I said, it showed that, people wanted to get out there and get that knowledge. They took that stepping stone. A lot of those guys had, just gotten their rifles, The one guy even said, he's like, man, I picked it up. I've done nothing with it. I put a couple things on there because I read about them on the internet and people said they were good. And that's where he was at. He figured, hey, instead of, continuing to read up and buy all this stuff, I'm going to actually go out and, put it to the test and figure out what it's all about. And he was in day 2 too. And I think, this was definitely a light bulb class for that guy. I mean, it was just,
no, he did great. He shot great. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I think he was like a Southern too. He reminded me of like in the Aaron Brumley, like Southern gentleman type of accent.
Sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And no, I think, Trek again at the end of the class this day, he sums it up best as like, he wants to make the bad guys so scared to go out because society is so knowledgeable and we're armed and, we're all about our own self-defense that, he doesn't even have to, train people anymore. He can open his own roller skate disco poetry shop and live life happily,
And I don't know if we showed these before or not, but so for everybody out there that go takes an MDFI class, you get these cool metal business cards that are they're just super cool to have. So yeah, let's move on to day 2. Day 1, we do need to give a shout out to Evan, just an MDFI alumni. He let us crash at his house. We went over there. He just bought the place. He did like an open house party. So yeah, we never met him before. We showed up with a bottle of whiskey and some beer, and he made us feel like at home, and we got to party and crash at his house. So shout out to Evan, who watches the show. So thank you, Evan, for letting us crash on your couch. So move on to day 2. We're talking foundation carbine.
Ricky Bobby and up them guns.
Yeah, here we go. Now this is where you get to do some Ricky Bobby. So class, $175 again, absolutely well worth it. The course description is Foundation Carbine is designed to stress the importance of proper weapons, manipulation, and shooting techniques. The goal of this class is to build a strong and efficient foundation regarding the proper use and manipulation of a carbine as a defensive tool. Without a strong foundation, any additional training is wasted time. And you guys have to go to the class to get the whole Olive Garden spiel. It's a great story. So topics covered. The whole person concept, which, by the way, we have a video on. Go check that out. Rifle zero confirmation, shooting techniques, the threat engagement process, carbine manipulation, support side shooting, transitions to handgun. What was needed was semi-auto rifle, 400 rounds of ammo, 3 magazines. Magazine carries a whole 2 spare mags. Handgun with holster, 50 rounds of handgun ammo, iron protection, the rest of the good stuff. I should also mention day 1. I think day 1 we only shot 75 rounds, maybe.
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Depending on how much it took you to zero. I think I heard a couple guys say they shot like 90 or somewhere in there. I mean, yeah, I think I must have went through like 60 rounds the first day. Seriously, like just.
Yeah, so
a lot of knowledge bombs being dropped, though. That was the thing. It was a lot more walk through, but
yeah,
I think for the guys that needed the more one-on-one, they shot a lot more. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, day 1 we only shot 100. This class, I ended up shooting more in this class, but I want to say we shot 250 maybe.
Yeah, I think I shot about 350 some.
Okay, I could be totally wrong. It could be 350. So we shot somewhere around there.
Again, it depended how much you wanted to burn these targets down. So
yeah, because you get partway through the class and it's you decide, and that's something kind of he discusses in the class too. Of okay, if every drill you run, you just shoot 2 times, to the head, 1 of the chest every single time. If the time comes, you're probably going to do that. So when we get kind of through the basic and fundamentals of the manipulation and we come to running drills, it's just, he tells you, when I tell you, gun, threat, shoot, whatever it is, you decide how many you're going to shoot. You do what you decide is best for that class. So there was a couple times I'd shoot 2. There was a couple times I'd put 20, just depends how I was feeling at that time.
Reload.
Yeah. So that is a little bit dependent. So you could probably walk out of that first day class with under 300. Just depends how much you shoot. So in that class, we started off with and I guess we should go over this too, is this might be kind of actually an interesting discussion to talk about. And it kind of blurs the line. Oh, I have a sick kiddo that's awake. What's up, buddy? Okay, go upstairs, please, okay?
I almost puked.
Oh, you almost puked?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you do that, go to the bathroom, okay?
When I go to the bathroom,
Mom.
Oh,
puke.
okay. All right, go talk to mommy, okay?
Daddy.
Can you hear all this?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Yes, buddy.
I,
He does not care we're on a show right now, for those that couldn't get this.
And I'll make sure to be extra quiet so we can all hear it as well.
you said I can have one pizza so it can make me feel better.
Okay. If 1 piece pizza will make you feel better, go for it.
Yeah.
When I eat it, I always go run in the bathroom and puke.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Don't do that.
Oh, yep. For those that are ever curious, like, hey, what is it like to have 6 kids? It's like that. You never, ever have a second to yourself, no matter what. So back to this. We did actually.
Topic.
Yeah, we did a part 1 on a part 2 video, kind of that blurs the lines a little bit. This we did of training expectations, what a student should expect out of a class, and what an instructor should expect out of a student. Check out those videos again; those will be in the MDFI playlist. But that kind of blurs the lines of this of what a person should like before the class, like what should be covered in a class. Because I'm going to kind of just go over in general, just a bullet points of like what we did before we got to the shooting. We did an introduction of the instructor class. Everybody talked about why we're here. Talked about that foundation aspect that we talked about in the class discussion of why foundation is important. Safety. That's a big thing that we didn't talk about in day one. Class was absolutely safe as all get out, no issues at all. I mean, again, that's obviously a big thing. That should be a big thing in any class you take. If safety is not talked about before you start the class, that's when you pack up and leave out. If safety is not discussed, so we talk about, and again, we even in this class, we talk about the 4 basic firearm safety rules. We discussed medical. We talked about range commands. Yeah. So beforehand, if there's not any of at least some sort of team building activity, for lack of better words, there, but discussion about why you're there, the foundations, and then the safety, and I think those should be in any class you take. If it's not, that's usually a big warning flag.
Yeah, it gets everybody comfortable. I mean, not only do you know that there's a medical plan, you know who's going to do what. So if something does go down, not everybody's in a panic, you know. They discuss really good points of, making sure that you call it a firearms related accident so that you're not causing law enforcement to have to show up and slow down the EMTs. We're dealing with rifles here this day. So as we're of handguns, you have an 80% chance of living. Now it's actually inverse when you're going with a rifle. So we're using deadly items. We're in kind of close proximity to each other. So you need to know that you're going to be in a safe environment to learn. And that's an absolutely crucial thing. The other thing, like Nick said, is, kind of breaking that ice with everybody. It's great all the time. Like, we get to go to these classes and there's tons of listeners out there that excuse me, they always, they know us when we come on scene. Obviously, there's always tons of good MDFI alumni that most of the time we know a couple people in class. But then again, there's always people that this is their first class, so they have no idea what to expect, and they're kind of nervous. And it's really good to, find out why everybody's there, where kind of everybody's knowledge base is. And yeah, I mean, it just starts the day off right with learning and, being comfortable with everybody. Everybody's joking. It's not one of those awkward, like, silence for the first 2 hours. It's like immediately everybody's, having fun. Yeah, the Trek always puts on a great show. He's got a great sense of humor. That's another big thing. He leads the class along. He's always engaging the class. And I mean, yeah, again, it's a great learning environment for sure.
Well, and we should have mentioned too of just, I think you had Trek in shock and awe over your tin coated Griffin M4 flash comp, and your BCG. I think he was almost speechless over that.
Poor man's salient, baby. And it works.
And it works. Yep. Salient's not going to be a sponsor of the show. So, so we do this, and somebody also need to mention too is if anytime there's generally 2 classes offered, and for brother, yes, Greg, Trek owns the MDFI. So if there's ever like a class where it's like basic handgun, then foundation handgun, or handgun 1 and handgun 2, and that whatever that first class is more of like you feel like, okay, well, I've been shooting a long time. That class is probably under me. So I'm just going to go to the second day one. Guess what? Everybody that came to the first day's class, then come to the second day's class, is going to shoot better than you. That's just the way it is. So like when we did our first drill on day 2 for Foundation Carbine, the first drill was we had 1 mag in the gun with an empty mag, and then we had to do a reload with 4 rounds in the mag plus a dummy round. So it was 1 round in the chamber, empty mag, and then total of 5 rounds in our other mag with 1 as a dummy. So it had some reload, malfunction drills, but it also, we were shooting, I want to say like 8 yards or something like that. It was pretty like short.
10-yard headshot and then 50 yards on steel, I think
that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's all. And the first drill is always the first drill on the second day is always where you can easily see who took the first day's class and who took the second day's class. Something we did not cover is in the basic, we also talked about holdovers in regards to hide over bore. So the first drill had a hide over bore shot in it. And of course, everybody from day 1 got hit the shot, and everybody that didn't come to day 1 totally missed that shot. So I just want to make a mention of that, of go to both classes, you'll come out ahead. So we did that drill, and then we moved on to confirming our zeros, which we did that. I think I did 3 shots. I think there's a picture of it in the Flickr stuff. I did 3 shots, and I'm standing next to my target with some stupid giddy smile. And like, I'm done.
But see, day 2, you only had 9 rounds to get your sights on. So
yeah.
This is where, because again, they don't want you spending half the class on one person trying to zero their rifle. And I don't think anybody needed past 9 rounds. Most people's rifle were squared away getting there. But.
So, but yeah, if you're gonna miss that first day class, make sure your rifle is zeroed. So after that, we talked about I&I, so admin loads, whether it be handgun, rifle, something too. Man, I'm hoping. I don't have a magazine laying around, but it's something that is definitely, I'd have to dig for one, but something that people need to look into is the push-pull method on reloading ARs. Hopefully we'll be able to do a video with that, with Trek or someone else on that soon. I really like that method. Yeah. And for those that aren't familiar, and you'll see a lot of people too, they'll put in a magazine and then they'll hit it, and then that's when they'll come up. So what we're talking about is we insert the magazine, we pull on it to make sure, because if it pulls enough, the magazine doesn't come out, it's seated, and then we can go back. Because what happens, you'll see it too, especially with people that will load up 30 rounds in their mag, they'll put it in, and then they'll just straight go, and of course their magazine falls out, and they'll earn a moose cock patch from, if they take an EAG class, they'll get a moose cock patch. Or, it'll fall out, or they'll tap it, and that's their way, and it'll still fall out if it's 30 rounds. So we do insert, pull, make sure it's seated. If not, ram it in, pull again, make sure it's seated, and then go. Just because you'll save time. Yep. In the long run, you just slam it home, pull it's in good. Okay, you're good to go. So that was actually a really good way to do the push pull method. I really like that.
No. One thing, guys, if you don't know, obviously you don't want to load your mags full to capacity. We try to say about 27, 28 rounds in each mag. That's still a lot of bullets. So,
yeah,
the push-pull method, it works great because, like you said, I mean, and I was having some issues with hex mags a little bit that day of where
Same here.
With 27 rounds in. On a closed bolt, they weren't wanting to seat home, and for me, that's a big thing. If you're only carrying 1 or 2 spare mags on you, and you come up and you think you get that mag inserted and it just falls to the ground, the great thing about 30-round mags is you have a lot of purchase room. So that's why, for me, I like to run mine bullets rearward. I get that nice grip all the way at the bottom. As I come up, it's right there. I can insert, drive that bolt home if the bolt's locked to the rear. Otherwise, speed reload, it's right there, it just locks in. Give it a good push pull, and you're going to avoid a lot of issues. You're going to save yourself a lot of time. And I think we really got to run the steps on it during this day. You really got to start, and all the MDFI classes, we do this crawl, walk, run. We do it by the numbers. Once you get it down, we start going a little faster, and then it's full Ricky Bobby. It's as fast as you can do it. And we'll come up obviously a little bit. At the end, it culminates into one awesome event. And
now immediately everybody right now in chat was, did Nick say moose cock? Yes, I said moose cock. Check out the link. I actually put the link in it. Pat Rogers has a video on it. It's a Pat Rogers pro tip load procedure. So this video, it will talk about the push-pull method and what happens if you fail. And then the moose cock will be hilariously explained to you. But I still want that damn patch.
Everybody wants, but nobody wants to get. It's an awesome patch too. It's like
that's the thing too. It's
but you want to go through the whole day without avoiding having your mags fall to the ground. And the way he does it, it really sets it in your head. Like obviously Trek and them are good dudes. Like they might come up and give you a little tease, but they're not going to do it like a Pat Rogers where he makes it an event. He stops the range. It's like, I must be a bad instructor, So, oh yeah. No.
What that happened? I think we were in the shoot house talking, and again, you guys got to go check out the link. It's in the chat there. When we were at the shoot house class, I think we're all in the shoot house talking about after a run or something, and you can hear Pat, Steve, I must be the worst fucking instructor.
Here it is, 15:30, and I haven't even taught the push-pull method correctly today. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you guys got to watch it. Pat Rogers, for those that don't know, is absolutely awesome, dude. I definitely want to get into one of his classes. Just an awesome guy. That's old, so old, but so awesome. I'm pretty sure he's twice. Oh, I know he's more than twice my age, but he could still whoop my ass, hands down, whoop me. So sorry, we're off topic there, but yeah, back to that. So push pull method. Then after that, yeah, then we started running drills, and then we ran our first drill after that, some up drills, and then after that, that's when we started shoot what you want. And this brings up a really good point because I discussed this with someone on today on Facebook and it's something that I didn't do and I still have a hard time with it but it's an absolutely easy thing to do is follow the target down to the ground. If that's something that if you go to the range and shoot for defensive purposes, I'm not talking about if you just go to the range and you just dump Desert Eagle as much as you can, then wrap it up. Drill's not for you. But following the target down to the ground, is it something you've thought about? That's discussed in the class a lot, and there's a lot more to it.
No, I want to. Yeah.
Of shooting a target.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, it's the target's going down, so we're keeping that gun on them. We're going down with it. Okay, it's down. It's not a threat anymore. Okay, and you'll see it. And I think in the class too, this is a great thing of immediately a lot of people pulling. And no, it's not. You got to slow yourselves down here. If you literally just smoked a dude, there's a lot more that needs to go into this before doing your little scan stuff and putting your holster away. Or I should say in this case, your rifle or taking it down or off, but sorry, jump in there, Jesse.
No, you pretty much nailed it there. It's always being ready for that next shot. So it's like, if you're only going to shoot this dude 3 times, you got to be ready to shoot him 4 times. You've got to come up like you were going to break that next shot, follow that target down to the ground. Again, I see it so much, especially on social media, of these guys that are just, boom, 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 and it's like, yeah, that's totally, it defeats the whole purpose, and that's why this search and assess gets a terrible name. Again, it's got a good purpose if you know the background behind it. So it's, being ready to break that next shot all the time, and like you said, it's following that threat till it's no longer a threat, because that's what we're doing. We're stopping the threat, and then obviously comes looking around and making sure there's no more threats, and then all the other stuff, topping the gun off or whatever the case, putting the gun away, calling 911, all the past dudes.
Yeah,
so.
all that stuff. And then of course we also discussed the 5 ways to stop a person, and again we're talking about more scanning, and then we work on different ways to scan. You'll learn how to be a stripper and just how to stripper pull it. And then let's see here. The longest part of anything, whether it be shooting or anything, should be scan and assess. Then from there, our class got really busy, and I actually forgot to take notes after that. I know a lot more happened after that. But yeah, the scan and assess.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I keep.
I was going to talk about the scan and assess because that gets a lot of bad rap on the internet. About people just okay, good. And it's like looking to your left and your right maybe gives you a 200 degree to 10 degree, of viewing stuff around you, unless you physically, but even that's not enough. So a lot of it was, we're going to work on how to do it safely. We're going to do a 360 degree scan, and there's different ways you can do that. But again, it's you literally just smoked it, especially in the context of this class with a rifle. You just smoked a dude with a rifle. Like, that's a big deal, So obviously there might be more things going on to this. And the reason that we trade on this, and I think the reason that, I'm sharing, because again, go take the class. There's a lot of stuff that's in this class that we're not going to discuss. I can tell you that right now. We're not going to give the whole class away. But the reason I'm sharing it is because if you don't practice this stuff, you're not going to do it at all in a situation like this. And I think that's why it's so critically important is to work on these. Oh, it's so stupid, to turn around with a gun, No, it is actually important because you want those ingrained into you, or at least have an idea of what to do after something happens. And I think that's one of those really things that's skipped over in classes, and it's hammered into you in the class because you get tested on it in the class. There'll be times where, Track will be back there holding up number of fingers. And then after a scan, he'll tell everybody look down range and ask how many, and have everybody hold up their hand to how many numbers that he was holding above his head. Or in You Suck, It's Not the Gun, we also work on this to where Trek actually held the knife backwards, like right here. My life wasn't in danger. And then was like, okay, who saw what Trek was doing? And a lot of people did not see it. Like he was literally standing like this. And a bunch of people were doing their scans, but didn't even see it. So you have to have that mental, acuity to do it every single time. And that's why we practice in the class, because if you can't do it in a class in a square range when everything is on your side, you're not going to do it when something bad happens.
No, I got a great quote for that. We do not rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Abraham Lincoln or George Washington, I don't fucking know, whoever, but timestamp. But yeah, that's what it is right there. Is again, you fall back to what you know, and we always think like, well, when you're there, you'll do this, and there's certain things you're gonna do, like yell at people. Yeah, you're probably gonna yell at the dude in real life. You're probably gonna be looking around because you just shot somebody and you got to look around. But it's breaking that tunnel vision for sure. And looking for other threats. Again, I think that's the biggest deal, and actually taking the time to scan your environment. Here was something in the chat. Somebody was saying, like, when you're shooting close distance, that you don't need your sights. And I think, man, that's a big thing that, I'd always heard and done, like, it was instinct shooting. And it kind of, you could see in the shoot house, the first time I thought I was really instinct shooting, But it was really like, no, you're not. Like, you're seeing your sight picture for sure, because, and I think especially in this rifle class, you really got to see, especially that red dot to the rear. It was like, no, I was literally 5 yards, 7 yards. I was on that sight and I was getting that clear dot. I was getting that picture. It was right there when I presented the gun too, So I don't think, just, again, you're accountable for every round. So I think obviously if you're calling it good enough at certain distances, but I didn't really see that. I was definitely getting sight pictures. I was definitely picking up the dots, even when I was running irons only. And I think anyone, Trek, Steve, they would tell you the same thing, is that, you're seeing the sights, you need to be. If you're not, you're probably just throwing rounds. And I did, I seen a lot in the second shootouts we did, because a lot more people ran carbine in the second shootouts, and you could watch kind of a lot better with the openness and the better layout of kind of the catwalk at Alliance. So, and you could see the guys that, just came in the room. And of course, if you're talking like, I don't know though, there was the one guy running like, what, a 16 power scope in this class, day 2. And
I don't know what I was running. Well, that's something I have written down here is,
we'll talk to Steve about it.
Yeah, but we had a question before, and I said we would get into it, and so I do want to jump into it, of the optic. So for those that aren't familiar, and I put up on the Facebook page a couple times of myself and Jesse, after working with Steve, have moved our optics all the way to the rear. I'm actually going to be removing my backup sight and moving it, because it's a backup sight. It can go anywhere. But that's a video. But we moved our optics to the rear. And again, this is actually my AR. I did not run it in the class. I had the ADM gun, which, by the way, I'll be doing a video review on. I'll be running a rifle through another 2 classes later this month. But so we moved it to the back. And so, Jesse, I'll let you give you give your initial what you thought, but of moving your optic to the back. But something I wanted you to, because you have a lot of rifle time. For those that aren't familiar, and we'll jump into this in our first show, but history of Jesse's been in the Army. Was in Iraq 2005, 2006. You've got a lot of rounds downrange, whether it be real time or range time. And And even then, you didn't put your optic in the rear.
Nope,
but
never.
And I think this is something that me and you were really starting to jump on is we start asking why. Like, I mean, for everybody out there listening or watching, so go find your AR and have you asked about why something is where it is? Like, you know, why do I have my optic forward of the receiver? Or, you know, okay, so it's field of view. Okay, great. So why is that? Why is that better? Or what advantage does that give to me?
Why is my light all the way at this end? Or why are my rear sights here all the way at this end of the rifle? I mean, there's tons of questions for sure. And we're going to get to some of those with Steve coming up. But yeah, again, start asking the questions.
Of just ask why. And then from there, as whatever the answer to that is, ask why. You know, like for something like, and I saw somewhere else of like, you know, like somebody had their, because Aaron Cowan has his rear sight like all the way in the middle of his rifle. And he has his front sight up here. It's like, well, it's a backup iron sight. Like if your primary optic goes down and you have to use your iron sights, you know, is that going to do the job? Yeah, it would do the job. But sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here. But so what was, you know, when you were in the Army, you put your optic as far forward on the upper receiver. Did you ever think about why, or is that just because that's how it was done?
Yeah, like, I don't know. I've kind of always ran it like either right over like the T section, you know, where the rail and the free float rail kind of meet right there, or like one back before it all the way on to the upper receiver. Never like, you know, super far out on the rail like that. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, you know, that's just kind of how they came, I guess, or I don't even know if they really showed us like, hey, put it here, you know. And I mean, we baling wire them down and they were set and that's where they would stay. So I don't know. I never just asked the question. I always had heard little things of like, oh, the farther out you'll pick it up faster, or, you know, you need that middle ground so that way you still have peripheral view and all this other stuff. And it wasn't really until Steve just asked me why I ran it there. And it really made me go like, I don't know, you know. And he's like, I want you to go read this article. And man, I can't remember the guy's name now. It's like Greg something, or I don't remember. I put it on Facebook before. But it's, yeah, shooting through the ring, if you want to look that up, or shooting through the sight, something along those lines.
Yeah, I'll get the link and I'll put it in the thing here.
And yeah, you know, after reading that, it was like, I mean, you know, my H1's on a ADM mount, so it's quick detach. So I just moved it, and it was like, I'm gonna try it out, you know. And of course, I was in my house dry practice with it at first, and it really started to make sense. I mean, not only was it easier to catch right as I came up on it, the biggest thing for me, though, is it's easier to break off the gun. And this is a huge thing, especially when you start to work in real world and you get off that flat range mentality, is you're moving constantly, you know. There's an objective to take, so you need to go. You're in a fight, you know. So it's like you're moving and you're gathering information, and it's really hard to do that if you're just here and you're searching like this. You're gathering just little bits of information, whereas here I can break off the gun, look how much more information I can get, and I can still snap that gun up. And I mean, you know, again, there's a lot more science behind it. There's a lot more, you know, than I can really get into with it, but it's just trying it out for yourself. And I think not only does it give me better field of view around, again, I pick up that dot a lot faster. That dot's a lot crisper. It's not as streaky for me. Yeah, I mean, and again, just breaking off the gun is the biggest aspect of it. It's super easy to just take it off a little bit, look around more than it's going to be to get that full shift on it. You know what I'm saying? I hope I made that clear for everybody out there.
Yeah. Well, and something too is that we also need to talk about is we're not telling you that this optic is the rear is the best way for you. What we're saying is it works for us. And we actually episode 90 with Steve, we jumped into this of the optic placement of, you know, depending on people's age, their eyesight, if they have a astigmatism in their eye, there's a lot of things. Some people just can't use aim points. They just can't, based off of factors of their eyes. So they have to run an EOTech, for example, or some other type of optic. They're, you know, a lot of people will get the swoosh in the aim points. So we're not telling you that this is the best way. You do it this way. All we're saying is, hey, we tried this. We liked it a lot better for these reasons. Try it. See if it works for you. If it doesn't, great.
Well, yeah,
you
you
know,
pick up a lot more in the optic too, you know. So now that field of view almost seems wider through the optic. You're getting where you can probably see, yeah, I don't know the degree. Again, go read the Shoot Through the Ring.
yeah,
It
I'm
puts it
trying to
all
find
out
it
there.
too.
But
I don't. You had it on Facebook, and now yeah, gosh dang, I can't find it. I'm trying to find it. I'll try to put that link here in the chat, guys, and I'll try to reshare it on our Facebook page too. Here,
I mean,
it's somewhere.
yeah, obviously if you're running like a magnifier or if you're running, you know, PVS 14 or something like that behind it, it's probably not going to work for you. You know, me, I still run my backup rear sight. Obviously, it covers the very last T section that it can, and then you know it's on the receiver, and then I have my mount all the way backed up right to that. And yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, it's faster. There's no doubt about it. I haven't got to throw it on a timer yet, but I can just tell by myself, you know, it's faster for me to pick up that dot, and moving through the house, it's a lot easier to break off that gun. Yeah, I really
I found it, so it's in the link over there in the chat. And again, basically what he's talking about is and I kind of on episode 9. So if this is our optic, so if we're looking through our optic right here, and I have it out here in front of me, you know, how much can I see through it? I can see like literally it like the size of one tab in Chrome. Like I can see like 2 inches of the screen on a 27-inch screen here. I can see like 2 inches of it. Of course, I can still see it here. Now let's say I move that optic back to here. Am I missing? Do I have a little bit of ring here? Yeah. Am I losing any peripheral? No. But guess what? I can now see half, if not more, of the actual screen monitor in front of me here. So what I did was I just instead of seeing like one little target or an area of a target, now that I move it back, I can see multiple targets. So I think that the biggest thing that for me was if I had to transition targets, or if I had to scan for another threat through my actual optic, I feel it like it's much faster. But I feel like coming up on the gun, and to me that those really showed when it was just headshots, when it was like, okay, you know, put 2 in the brain box, snap it up, okay, good to go, bow, bow, bow. To me, it came up faster. Again, we're not telling you have to do it this way. All we're saying is question why you have what you have. Maybe try something else. If you don't like it, move back, dude. Whatever. Learn how to run your gun.
Yeah, no, and it sets you up for scopes as well. If you switch off constantly with like a 1 to 4, 1 to 6, you know, it's going to be that same eye relief length. So that's another big thing to think about. And yeah, like Nick said, I think it was faster on target. You could see that during like the reload challenge, you know, is like the faster you could get that first shot off, obviously, the more time you had to load mag, you know, again, it all works together. So
yeah, which we do need to mention that Mr. And I need to mention too of the pictures down below. Look at the Flickr albums. Jesse took those pictures. Majority of them, some of them I took, but Jesse's an awesome photographer now. So check out the pictures.
And
the
big
dude's
thanks
killing
to
it.
Steve for letting us use that L series 70 to 200 2.8. Oh, the dream lens. God, yeah, those pictures were amazing.
Yeah, you'll notice if you look at the pictures of like halfway through Foundation Carbine, they get like really awesome. That's because there's actually a photographer was taking the class that brought his awesome $2,000 lens, and we got to use the $2,000 lens. So it was awesome. Yeah, shout out to Steve as well. Thank you. But yeah, the optic, man, I liked it. It was just that simple. Yeah. So I want to move on to the next part though, and again, it's related to the class, but it's a little off. So I hope you guys are liking this discussion we're having. Gear. So me and Jesse, me and Jesse for both classes, I ran a single mag pouch on my belt. I ran another mag in like my pocket, or if I needed an extra one, I just put it in my front pocket. And then on day 2, I just had my handgun and of course a 4C tactical holster, and that was it. That's all I had. Then I had my ADM rifle with a Proctor sling. Like that was it. That's all I had. A lot of people rolled in with chest rigs and battle belts and all this stuff. Now, I would say a year ago, Jesse, if we had not taken any classes and rolled into this class, hands down, we would have been chest rigs, we would have been battle belts, we would have AR pistols, we would have had everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Yep, all the gear.
All the gear. This go around, literally none of the gear. Well, a lot of people, there were several people that this was their first class. And I think too, you could tell like who was their first class and then who was, if it wasn't their first class and who it was their first class. Because a lot of the new guys had all the chest rigs and plates and all this stuff. And again, for the focus of the class. Now, again, I'm not bashing the dudes. I mean, it's a great way to, if you have gear.
Shake out your gear. That's how you do it.
If you need to shake out your gear, that's how you do it. But I mean, and this is something too, is look at, so foundation carbine. Okay. You're looking at it from a self-defense issue. That's the context of the class. So based off of that, if it's a self-defense type of stuff with using a carbine, if you had to do self-defense with a carbine, are you going to have a plate carrier and a battle belt or a chest rig, all this type of stuff? No, you're probably just going to have your rifle with the mag that's in it, and that's it. So I think that's something is to understand the context of the class. And here's something that all people also understand. You cannot reload quick from a chest rig. You just can't, which was funny because there was a couple competitions during the class, which Jesse won his relay, by the way. So congrats to him. It was a 1-on-1 drill. Everybody that was wearing chest rigs seemed to ditch them at that point in time, which was kind of funny. And it was more of like, well, if you might not win because of your gear, but hey, at least you're trying to run your gear,
Right.
And that kind of goes the overall thing of, you need to shake out gear. Yes, I'd recommend shaking out your gear in those appropriate type of classes, but, know the context of the class, I would say. And again, I'm not dogging them. People can keep showing up with chest rigs, go for it, but run what's going to be realistic to the actual situation. So me and Jesse, our primary home defense weapons aren't rifles. I think we both agree on that. Handguns,
yep.
Due to there's several different factors. Again, a rifle could be your primary, depending on where you live and other environmental factors that go along with it. But for us, handgun is the primary. So that means me and Jesse have a weapon mounted light on our handgun. We have it, maximum magazine plus 1 round, and that's it. So for classes that the context is of that, that's what we run. If this context, if we had to run our rifles for home defense, we'll have our rifle and that's it. The only reason we carried other stuff is because it was required in the class. That's it. So that's something I want to throw out to people. If you're going to take this class or any other type of class, know the context of the class, know the context of, okay, if I was actually going to use this for the context of the class, what would I have on me? So if it's a home defense and you're like, well, I'm just going to get up and grab my rifle, then that's what you do.
No, and yeah, I kind of looked at it, from a different standpoint, just because, yeah, for me, obviously, like we said, there's different reasons why me and Nick, and we might have talked on it before, or we'll talk on it, later, not in this episode, of why we choose a handgun over a rifle for self-defense. Obviously, rifles kill people better, that's just the long and short of it. But, yeah, I think, for me, obviously, if I was out in an element, I had my rifle, I would have a plate carrier on. I would have this, because it would be, a lot of these guys were the end of the world situation or tyranny or whatever the case was, so they were shaking out gear, I felt, for that a little bit. But again, you could see just immediately downfalls of it. And yeah, obviously.
A lot of people dumped the gear at lunch when we stopped. A lot of people that were running chest rigs or plate carriers dumped them.
Well, and you've seen a lot of Condor plate carriers, a lot of stuff like that. You weren't seeing, your quality carriers because, again, these guys had never worn that gear, shook it out. So it's like, could I have worn a plate carriers? Like, I've worn them at other classes this year. It's like, I know for me, I go standard belt with, a Kydex mag pouch on the back, a single. And I mean, even out of the carrier, like at the D3 on there, I would feed that pouch over and over again with other mags. That's how I would run it if I was in a combat situation. But yeah, for these classes, again, it's getting out of fantasy band camp a little bit, and being able to run the gun efficiently. It's like, if I had to use it for home defense or stop somebody, again, depending where you lived, like this could be your primary home defense gun, and you had to run out and make a 100-yard shot. Yeah, you're going to have one magazine, and it's running it realistically. I think a little bit. I feel there was a ton of people after this class that were like, yeah, where do I get a single Kydex mag pouch, because that's quick and easy, and like like throw the other ones in your pocket, you're good to go all day, because it's just man, slick setup. I promise you, there's a time and a place for war belt, of course. Like, I feel like wintertime, it's great having a carrier. It's great having the war belt, because you're wearing those cold weather clothes. The plate carrier keeps nice and heat in a little bit, and you're more bulky. And I think, a lot of like Steve, instructors like that would agree with me that that's where they would more rather see your battle belt setup. I mean, when you're out there in just jeans, like, none of them hold tight nice. I think I will be looking into what's the high threat concealment. They make like the Velcro under belt and then the top belt that just goes over the top of it. So it'd be nice to have like a battle belt dedicated that's like the same as your belt width. I feel like that's good, because a lot of times, especially like running the rifle in this, I wouldn't, if my rifle's out, I would be going outside the waistband, just because, again, it's easier to draw. But I mean, this whole class I ran inside the waistband even. So, Oh, no, I switched to an outside the waistband day two. That's right. Day one I ran inside the waistband. Day two I ran outside the waistband.
Yep. So yeah, that's just just a little feedback we had on gear. And again, too, it's just know why you're doing it. If you're like, hey, I'm strictly here to learn if this works, if this doesn't, great. But if you're showing up because, well, I saw, I almost named a specific YouTuber. If it's because you saw it that way and so you're going to show up that way, don't do that. Versus, okay, what is, again, know the context of the class, know the context of, if I was going to use this for myself, what gear would I be using, and go with that. Because again, that's a great way to check out, especially in handgun concealed carry classes. You rock your concealed carry handgun, you rock your concealed carry gear. That's the best way to know if your concealed carry works, your gear works or not. So yeah, just a tidbit that, again, both of us learned that lesson too. So don't think we're not guilty of that.
No,
absolutely we are. So
there's a good question out in chat of, was anyone running a ready mag? I didn't see anybody running a ready mag there. Did you?
No. I think that's great. I mean, if someone runs it on the home defense, I think,
I think that's a good option. I think Trek was even saying that's how he's got his setup, is, for home defenses with the ready mag right there.
Oh, something you also need to learn too is, if you take the MDFI class, Trek will do his best to convert you to iron sights.
Yeah,
he will do his best. He converted a couple.
Oh, he did. At least 2 or 3 each class that were like getting rid of the optic. I seen a bunch of TRS 25s holding up out there. So good rep for that. I mean, I haven't used one. I did have a primary arms back in the day that held up okay, but it was like, that was the most common optic out there, was a TRS 25. So just a little note.
I've used one of those. Yeah, but no, they seem to run fine.
Yeah, no one had any issues with the optic. Actually, I seen Aimpoint Pro, Argo J's Aimpoint Pro was having some issues with that.
Yep.
Could have just been the battery ill prepared, I don't know, but who knows? Just
But let's see here.
Go to the
reloads.
Let's talk reloads.
Reloads. Well, and again, too, we kind of go through different reloads, to whether it be, a tactical reload. There's 2 kind of reloads. There's reloads that are on your time, and then there's reloads on the gun's time. So, i.e., the gun needs fed, or there's some sort of malfunction, or you're doing some sort of administration or tac reload, so it's on your time. You learn those in the class. You go over those, when to use them. The 2 different methods. So 2 mags in one hand, or the little L thing you'll see people do. I'm not a fan of that. That's too much fumbling. That's too much dexterity. Another great point to jump on. Ooh, and I love the way Trek explains this. All right, so let's. You know what I started doing? I started looking for my ADM lever to lock my bolt back with my trigger finger, which, by the way,
spoiled.
Is we'll get to it here in a bit. So we did malfunction drills in the class too, but so I was running the UIC mod 2, which has ambi features, so I can basically lock the bolt back with my right finger. So Jesse got to run that for malfunctions too. It's the freaking boss for malfunction drills. But so if I can transition this here. So a lot of people to insert the mag and then do the hand slap thing, which is great. However, So here's the thing of when we do that, we talk about the hand slap. What's the natural curve? You see a curve there. So you can do it. And even during the class, we saw people do it, miss, and then they'd hit it. So instead of that, what we worked on was, okay, so if you have a magazine, you're inserting it in like where my thumb is, right there. So now a lot of people say, oh, if you're in a fight or, you know, whatever's going on or stress, that you don't have these fine motor skills. You don't have fine motor skills. Well, Jesse's doing it there. Guess what is a fine motor skill? Pulling the trigger on a gun. So again, something to think about there, people. And Jesse, what did the military teach you? Slap?
Maybe in basic, but by the time, I would hit like, theater, obviously the guys that had been there for this second, third tour already, they would explain it a little different. Yeah. And you would always with the thumb come in. So yeah, hence why I was okay during the reload drills,
Yeah.
It's a lot faster. I mean, and that's where especially when you get that push pull right there, you're already there. You give it a good tug, it's there, send it home with that thumb. And I mean, it's too easy, especially if you train it, I think, like you said, it's just slower coming off of a pull, especially if you're working that good push pull method to start slapping the side of the gun. And you're putting a lot of play into it, when you could just be there, boom, on the sight and driving the gun again. So,
yeah. Well, and something too is, and I see Mateo's been mentioning Travis Haley, which love Travis Haley. And what's Travis Haley's big thing is, and I'm not pretending to be him, but he's very efficient in his movement. So if I can reload in, pull, thumb, release, good to go, how much more efficient is that than insert, slap, slap? So, I mean, if you go by a manufacturing thing of how many ops did I just have to do there? Well, insert one, then we're moving our hand over, then we're slapping it, then of course we're coming up. It's not a very efficient use of movement.
No, so, and another thing is even dropping the mag. A lot of these mags start sticking. You start getting the gun hot. The mags are getting dirty. So it's sweeping away. And of course, I mean, there's so many schools of thought, and this is the thing, you got to figure out what works for you and what you think. There's schools of thought of, you don't want to give up a known for an unknown. So why would you get rid of a mag that possibly have bullets and throw it to the ground before you get your new mag out of your pouch that could have possibly fell out or done something? It's like some will say, go to the pouch, get that mag, and then come up and throw the other one. But again, it's what is important to you. And I think for excess waist movement, it's coming up, you're going to roll that gun naturally just a little bit to see. I mean, obviously, shooting carbine, the feel of a gun locking to the rear or a certain malfunction. So it's like you're going to come in just with a natural, hopeful kind of movement to help gravity get that mag out. You're already coming off the gun, just swipe it as you go past, help it out. If it's not there, you're already going to the pouch, come in, good push pull, and then boom, hit that release, and you're home. It's fast. Oh, there is to it. It's that easy.
Well, and I can tell you too is how many people would lose. So when we were doing the one-on-one competitions, so I can tell you, and here's what happened too is, so they would get that gun up and then they'd hit release. And that's when they would be down for their mag. They'd come up and be like, oh, crap, and try to rip it out and then slap it in. And that's when you saw it, too, because the problem is, and I was guilty of it, too, is when bolt release, you need to hit it. That's if you're doing this method, you need to hit it when it's flat. Gravity will help you. So you hit, and then you're coming up. But, what Jesse's talking about is there are some schools that teach you grab the mag, before because right now you have a known. You have a magazine in here. There could be a malfunction or something, but you're going to an unknown. You're going from a known to an unknown. So there's a couple different thoughts on it. And again, I would like to train on both to see what I think. But no, there's again food for thought, right? People, food for thought.
Just a little talking drill. Got to have again, push pull though that's proven. That's what you got to have that down. Again, getting the mag out of the gun, that's on you. I think obviously. If you can shave seconds when you want to shave seconds, we're talking a gunfight, your life's on the line here. So I think training to be the most efficient is where it's at. That's reloads right there. We did reloads.
Yeah. So of course, again, we talked about worked on other types of reloads. worked on drills. Malfunctions. I think that was a great one because
Yeah.
how many times do you get to work on malfunction clearing? Is, you know, it's if it happens at a range, okay, we drop the mag and, you know, do whatever, and it's kind of, it's on our time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's the great thing about working on them in a class is it on your time? Sure, but nobody wants to be the last guy shooting. You know, I mean, just nobody wants to be that guy or girl for that matter. And so there's, yeah, it adds a little bit of stress and a little bit of, you know, time to it. And so, yeah, we went over double feeds. What did we do? We did double feeds, bolt overrides, and I'm missing one. What am I missing, Jesse? Bolt overrides, double feeds. What else am I missing? I feel like there's one more malfunction that for some reason I'm missing.
Yeah, bolt override, double feed. I don't know. I can't think of it either. I don't know.
Huh.
The bolt override was
yeah.
the one that, yeah, obviously. I mean, it's just so much to that one a little bit.
Yeah.
I felt like there was one that wasn't super shitty. That was pretty easy to get gone. I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, we worked on those. Yeah, I'd never seen a bolt override. I don't think Jesse has either. So that was interesting for those that are.
Find out. Typically, they happen in urban prone type setting. You know, you're shooting slightly off axis off the deck. It ends up hitting off something and then bounces back into the gun. So
yeah,
I think
it's also common on like MK18s, and some other full autos. But yeah, it's not the most common thing, but it's good to know if it happens. It's good to know if it happens.
No, we had a bunch of people that had to mortar their guns that day. I mean, yeah I mean, you just seen
that was the other one.
Yeah.
Learn how to unmortar your gun. So no, we didn't do any stovepipes or anything, because those are pretty much the same way to clear a double feed or, you know, whatever else. So we did malfunctions. And then, of course, we worked on, you know, people love to do these on the internet, but don't know how to do them. Transitions. So you're shooting your rifle. Okay, you know. Okay. Mush, shit, you know, and then from there it was, you know, we worked at transition, down, gun. So it's a little more complex than what I just did right there. But man, and I don't know, this is one of maybe, I don't know, stupid pet peeves or, you know, whatever you want to call it, of people seem to do these transitions because they think they're cool to do, but literally a lot of people do them unsafe. A lot of people do them unsafe.
Yeah, if you're going to shoot yourself, this is probably the part of the class you're going to do it, I would say. And I think, I think Trek actually said that. So
yeah, that's
it's the end of the day. Yeah, and man, again, you know, it is pretty simple. It's just, you know, coming off the gun, obviously, yes, something went wrong. It's going to be faster to go to your sidearm than you think you could fix this gun at that moment. So it's laying it down, and obviously, you know, they teach a certain method of how they want you to lay the gun down, which worked out well for me. I'd never really thought about which way I wanted to flip the gun. I always kind of thought about it more quickly of getting that gun to the side, you know, and that's where we kind of touched on slings and stuff a little bit too during the classes. You know, he kind of went over the benefits of 1-point sling or 2-point sling and what he preferred. And again, I think, yeah, I don't know. I want to say Trek was running a 1-point sling. So
yeah, which he, by the way, he was running the Keltec SU-16, was it?
Yeah, the plastic.
Yeah, but he has it customized. It's the 4.5 pound AR. So
oh yeah, and he says it runs. I mean, he's put I think he said something like 15,000 rounds through it or something ridiculous. So
yeah, you guys can see the pictures of it. So
said obviously you can't burn targets down with like 20 rounds because it's plastic, but you know, he knows that going in, and yeah, he said it's been nothing but a great gun. So
yeah, and maybe that's something we should mention too. Of, you know, for everybody out there, if you're on the gun, if you're coming off the gun, safety's on. Doesn't matter what. So however it might be, if you don't have an ambi safety, get an ambi safety, or if you can manipulate it with your thumb. if you're on, okay, shooting, as soon as if you're off the gun, safety's on. There's no excuse for it. Agree?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess there's certain cases during that where obviously, yeah, maybe a malfunction, and you're trying to get that gun back into the fight as quickly. Trek was saying that it's okay to keep your gun off fire or on fire at that time. Obviously, you're trying to, get back into the fight. You want to get those rounds back on as soon as possible. Myself, that was like the hardest part of the day for me. It was like, man, I'm so used to every time I break off that gun, the safety just immediately comes on. I think there's maybe the bolt override or something you're saying that you can't manipulate the safety. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the bolt override is.
But I think I mean, for me, like I said, it's just it's so ingrained that I literally just could not. As soon as that gun goes down, it just instantly goes to safe. It's just such an easy, like, second nature motion to me that there's really no excuse. But I guess, like I said, Trek did say during that class that there's certain times where you're still in the fight, so it's cool to have the gun. It's you're dealing with a deadly threat at that point. So
that's when your gun is down, as in
exactly
down. So,
you need to fix a problem, not like you just burned a dude down and then come off the gun and want to leave it on fire. Like, there's no point. Go to safe.
Not talking about that.
Yeah.
So we did transition drills. No, and I think that's where we wrapped it up. It was both days were full days, so I think we were out there from 10
9 a.m. I think first day 10? Was 9, maybe 9, 10, something.
We had to be there at 9:30 for paperwork and stuff, and then class started at 10, and we went till 5 or 6 every day. Yeah. So you definitely got the time. And again, the great thing with the MDFI classes is they don't pack as many people as they can. There's a max limit. There's always an AI assistant instructor, Brad, who we've actually talked about. He was a student with us. Now he's an assistant instructor with MDFI.
Dreams awesome dude. Just come true.
Yeah. But again, you get the one-on-one time, if you need it. Obviously, I mean, there were some people that were more squared away than others. They just had more experience. They've ran other rifle classes before, so they need a less one-on-one time. But obviously, the way that the classes and the relays are set up, because your class is still split in half with relays, there's plenty of time to get all that one-on-one time with either Trek or Brad, assistant instructor. So again, that's one of the great things about MDFI. But I mean, the number one thing about the class, on top of all the fun shooting and learning and all that stuff, is the ego free zone. And I think that's something that's important to talk about when we wrap this up, is the ego free zone there. So no one's better than anybody else. There's no bravado, no machoism, no need to show off. Everyone's equal there. And I think that's really what sets up the learning environment to happen, is the ego-free zone.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you're getting pushed to outside your comfort zone. If you're not, they're not doing their job as an instructor. They need to, you're there to learn. So if you're sitting at a 9, they need to bring you to a 9.3, a 9.5 by the end of that class. But if you're a 1, they're going to bring you to that 5, 6 level. So I think it's, again, ego checking yourself going into the class. But that's the other thing, is that the instructors don't have an ego either. Everybody's going to miss. Everybody is going to be pushed to their limit that day. And that's the point of the class. So I think, obviously there's, you give each other stuff, crap a little bit here and there. But again, it's a fun environment. You never are going to leave feeling bad about yourself at the end of the day for going and paying money to learn. So, and I think that, that's a big point. Obviously, who wants to do that, is spend a bunch of money and then go and feel like crap about themselves. Like, just as a person, like, you're going to feel bad about yourself just because you didn't perform to the level that you wanted to every time. Because again, we all think like your hot stuff going into the class, like, man, I'm just gonna give it my best. And when your best isn't what you thought it was, you're gonna be disappointed. I mean, but that's training. That's the fun part of it.
Yeah. Because Mateo was talking about the SU. He has a custom stock on the SU, and it's funny enough, he has a crossbolt safety on it. which apparently when I do that video, oh my God, people freak out.
No, and he zip tied the bipod leg like hand guard so that those don't come down. He's got a battle comp on the end of it. Yeah, it's set up a little different. Yeah, the stocks on those things he was saying were super weak, so he got a reinforced. It's a folding stock. Yeah, you could ask him about it.
Yeah. Well, there's pictures of it. Again, check out the Flickr links to the albums. You guys will see his gun in there. But yeah, I think double checking my notes here. Again, it's a great class. I mean, here's the thing is, I mean, we're going to continue taking classes with MDFI, not only because there's good learning going on there. We have a good time. We meet a lot of cool people, but it is, and again, too, I don't know. It's a great environment to go learn about guns and how to run them.
Yeah, and, bunch of like-minded people around. It's it's like the adult equivalent of summer camp, for 2 days and then you go home. So it's awesome, man.
Yeah, and again, for everybody out there, they're based in Michigan. They do classes in Michigan. Then of course, this year they did Texas and North Carolina, a bunch of other places. Again, they're working on their 2016 schedule. There's a 3-day out. We're definitely have to try to get into that class. But no, it was a great time at both classes. I thoroughly enjoyed being at both classes. And again, too, if you know somebody that's new to AR-15s, God, get them in the basic. Maybe they're not ready for the foundation. That's fine. Get them into the basic, dude. That's going to be a great class for. You know what that'd be a good class for is, familiarize if you have a kid, familiarize them, make sure they know the 4 firearm safety rules down to heart, get it approved through check ahead of time. That would be a perfect class to take a kid to.
Yeah, no, slow pace, good day. Like I said, yeah, I think, for me, obviously, I have a ton of carbine experience, and, that's what it was for me, was a big check on myself. Like, I wanted to make sure that I had all this down, so that way going to the next level, because, again, it was one of those things with, like, you suck, it's not the gun. Oh, I thought I was way better than for sure what I was with the pistol when I got there. So it was self-evaluation on myself, and I think, that's the way to build up. I would have hated to go to an advanced class and then just be totally out of place and be that guy there that's like slowing down the whole class because I'm not up with the curriculum. I think taking classes and levels is a big deal. I think that's a great way to learn because it sets that foundation. And again, that's what everything builds off of that foundation. Yeah.
So yeah, if your foundation's cracked, then everything above it's going to crumble. I mean, it's that fact. So Greg mentioned up here, so he mentioned in the chat there. And by the way, thank you everybody out there for the chat. You guys have been chatting a ton. I'm trying to keep up. Real quick, and Jeff, in the actual description below in the video, if you had this up for a while, you may have to hit refresh because I added it after this was already scheduled. There's Flickr. It says Flickr album of basic carbine and foundation carbine in the description. But guns, yeah. We've been selling a lot of guns. I no longer have my Glock 34. I no longer have my Glock 17 RTF2. I no longer have my Saga, whatever you want to call it, AK. Yeah, those are all gone.
I sold the
Jesse,
shield.
Yeah, got rid of his shield. You're getting rid of your AR pistol tomorrow. But, but getting a new gun tomorrow, though. In the trade.
True. Yes, I will be getting a new gun for the AR pistol. I've definitely limited it. I mean, I'm down to one rifle. I mean, that's my main carbine. So again, fine. I can't run 40 guns at once. No big deal. Got the Glock 19. Of course, been my everyday carry forever at this point. Got a shotgun, cheap $200 like partner pump, freaking 870 clone up there, and a 22. But yes, tomorrow I will be getting a 1911 in 9mm commander size with a rail. It's a Rock Island. I believe it's their MS Tactical 2011 TAC 2 or some crazy long nomenclature name. But after shooting Steve's Nighthawk, man, it was like, Plus, it'll help me get that reload game on point. Those 9-round mags, like,
Yeah.
And nostalgic value, it's got a nice light rail. That's important. Be able to throw the X300 on there. And I mean, the biggest part is just, man, those triggers, right? Like, oh,
That's where it's at.
definitely upgrading it to the Wilson Combat flat trigger. Yeah,
Now,
probably.
and I
What?
I just realized now I should take that back. Yes, I got rid of those guns, but
Yeah.
I do have in 2 guns for review right now. I do have in the SIG P320 to review, and I have the new Canik TP9 V2 to review. So I will be reviewing those guns as well. So I forgot I did get rid of, but I did get rid of 2 more shotguns too. So yeah, we're getting rid of guns around here. It's
no point. Train with the ones you got. Be good with them. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people are like, well, you don't have to aim to do this, or or whatever the case. It's like, but what about those times you got to be surgical? It's like, if you can't be surgical flat range, or you can't be surgical during these training elements where, yeah, you may be under stress and pressure, but nobody's shooting back at you. What makes you think when you're there and doing it live? Again, I look back on my own experience where, I spent 16 months in combat, and I had none of this knowledge going into it. Like, would I feel better off going off now? Of course, I feel like I would be a better problem solver, and that would have helped me out a ton there. I feel like obviously we got lucky a lot, I would say, and strength in numbers, that's the biggest thing. But we've, lost people maybe we didn't have to if we would have had better training, I feel like. So, and again, I think a lot of it would have been mindset. It was so easy to get complacent because, again, it was like, God, you just, you hated being there. Like, you're away from home, long time, it's hot, you're out in the freaking desert, again. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I think training is super important. I can't recommend it enough. It's changed my whole mindset going in. And I was that guy that was like, God, how can somebody that hasn't been there doing it live tell me how to do it? And it's like, no, these guys are better at it than me. Even if they haven't been there doing it live, they're better at manipulating their gun. They're better at doing this. They're better at, the problem solving aspects. And I think it's adding, all those right tools to your toolbox a little bit. So, and again, fact checking things, it's nice to go to this instructor and this instructor and this instructor and be able to kind of pool all that into a style that works best for you. I mean, it's a totally different world living this as a responsible armed citizen than it is, a military member. I didn't even carry a gun when I was, off duty around posts. Like, there was no CCW. There was none of that. I've became a lot more, I would say, responsible as a citizen in general, just, being an armed citizen and getting my concealed carry and getting into this world of getting the education. So, I mean, that's just my experience. Like I said, I hope it helps people out there.
Yeah. Well, and again, too, we'll jump into more of this as the show's return here. The show will be changing up a little bit. Obviously, new panel. There'll be a whole bunch of posts coming up here shortly, and a whole lot of other things going on. But yeah, and you hit on it there, Jesse. And again, I'm going to wrap it up. But yeah, all this training, we learn how to run these guns and stuff. The biggest thing is you learn how to solve problems, whether that be a problem with a gun, whether that be a mental problem, whether that be a physical problem, or it be an actual, threat problem. Is you learn to solve problems. And I think that's the biggest thing
in real life. And that's the other huge part about it is, there's a lot of fantasy out there, especially when it comes to this, because we don't deal with fighting people with guns and stuff a lot. So you have to really look at the reality of what that's going to be like and what it's going to take and what is going to happen during, after. And I think, there's just so much information out there and good information. I mean, you can go to guys that are, the Bruce Lees of gunfighting right now and, get what they've taken away. We've got a ton of dudes that have been in theater for a long time, that have probably killed more people than cancer. So, getting and picking these guys' brain right now is
best time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
No. So this gets, hope AAR plus / a lot of discussion. But I mean, that's the thing too, is you go to these classes and you have so much to think about and discuss. And that's one of the best parts about, we talk about like shaking out the gear or the gun. And all these classes up, you shake stuff out mentally as well. Well, I thought this, and wow, I learned this, or, the opposite of it. So again, be sure to check out MDFI, trainmdfi.com. A link is down below. Check them out on Instagram at Michigan Trainer. Obviously, check them out on Facebook, all that good stuff. And again, did a bunch of videos with Trek on the channel. So go check that out. There's a playlist called, I think, Videos with MDFI that has all the shows they've been in along with all the extra videos. So go check that out. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'll let Jesse have the final word here. Anything else, Jesse?
If you live in a glass house, don't look a gift horse in the mouth.